There is a moment every gardener knows. You prepare the bed carefully, you loosen the soil, press the seeds in at just the right depth, water gently, and step back. Everything looks right. You come out the next morning and the bed is torn apart, seeds scattered, soil dug up, tiny furrows erased like they were never there. Most people assume something went wrong with their technique, so they try again. They replant, they water again, and again the same thing happens. The bed is disturbed, the work is undone. What actually happened has nothing to do with your technique. A cat found the soft, freshly turned soil and used it. A bird landed and started probing. A rodent followed the scent of fresh seed underground. Your seed bed, the thing you worked hardest to prepare, was the most attractive surface in your entire backyard to every animal nearby. Most gardeners respond by building a fence around the bed, or spraying something on the edges, or hoping for the best. There is a different approach. It costs less than $2. It works directly on the surface where the problem actually happens. And once you understand how it works, you will never lose a seed bed the same way again. The instinct most gardeners follow is to build a barrier around the bed, a low fence, a ring of wire, a border of rocks. It feels logical. You are marking the boundary, signaling that this space is protected. But here's the problem with that thinking. The animals getting into your seedbed are not coming through the sides. They are coming from above. A cat does not push through a fence to reach your seeds. It steps over, or it simply walks around and finds an open corner. A bird does not need a gap in your perimeter. It lands directly in the center of the bed from the air. The perimeter you built is solving the wrong problem entirely. The surface of a freshly prepared seed bed is, to an animal, one of the most inviting textures in the garden. It is soft. It is loose. It is easy to dig. Cats seek it out for the same reason they seek out a litter box. Rodents follow the scent of disturbed soil and buried seed. Birds read the texture as a signal that something edible is just below. You did not make a mistake by preparing your soil well. You made it attractive by doing everything correctly. This is not a failure of effort. It is a failure of the model you were taught. Garden stores sell perimeter solutions because perimeter solutions are easy to package and sell. The real problem is the surface itself. And the real solution has to live there too, right on top of the soil, where the disruption actually begins. This idea is not new. It is actually very old. Long before plastic existed, gardeners protecting young seedlings from animals used the same principle with whatever materials the land provided. In medieval European kitchen gardens, gardeners would press thorn branches flat across freshly sown beds. Rose cuttings, hawthorn sprigs, dried bramble, not stacked high like a fence, but laid low and flat directly on the soil surface. The goal was simple. Make the surface uncomfortable to walk on, dig in, or land on. The animals did not need to be scared away. They only needed to find the surface unrewarding enough to leave on their own. In parts of Asia and the Middle East, pine cones and rough gravel were scattered across seed beds for the same reason. In dry regions of Africa, small, sharp stones were pressed into the soil around young transplants. None of these gardeners had access to pesticides or motion-activated sprinklers. They understood something that modern gardening culture has quietly set aside. Animals make decisions based on physical sensation. They do not reason their way into a garden. They feel their way in. And if the surface feels wrong, they leave. The science behind this is straightforward. Cats, rodents, and most ground-feeding birds rely heavily on tactile feedback when they move across a surface. A consistent, soft, even texture invites exploration. An irregular, unpredictable surface with points or uneven resistance triggers avoidance. It is not pain that deters them, it is uncertainty. The surface no longer feels safe or easy, so they move on to find one that does. The plastic fork barrier works on exactly this principle. It is the thorn branch of the modern backyard. Low cost, reusable, and working with animal instinct rather than against it. Here is how the system works in practice. It is straightforward, and once you have done it once, it takes less than 10 minutes to set up a full bed. Start by purchasing one standard bag of disposable plastic forks. A bag of 24 forks typically costs under $2 at any grocery store, dollar store, or online. If you already have old plastic cutlery in the back of a drawer, wash it and use that instead. The forks do not need to be new. They only need to be intact. Take each fork and push it into the soil handle first, tines facing upward. The handle goes into the ground about an inch or two deep, just enough to hold the fork upright and stable. The four tines point toward the sky. You are not trying to injure anything. The tines of a plastic fork are blunt enough to cause no real harm, but irregular and unpredictable enough that no cat, rodent, or bird will want to press a paw or a beak into them. Spacing matters more than density. You do not need to cover every inch of soil. Place the forks roughly 4 to 6 inches apart across the entire surface of the seedbed. For a standard 3-foot by 4-foot raised bed, one bag of 24 forks is enough to cover the whole area with room to spare. The goal is to create a surface where an animal cannot find a clear, comfortable patch of open soil to dig into. When every potential digging spot has a fork nearby, the bed becomes unrewarding to explore. Deploy the system immediately after sowing. This is the critical timing. The window between sowing and the first sign of germination is exactly when the bed is most vulnerable. The soil is freshly disturbed, the scent of turned earth is strong, and there is nothing above the surface yet to indicate that seeds are present. That is when animals investigate. If the forks are already in place before the animals discover the bed, the habit of avoiding it is established before it ever begins. As the seedlings grow and develop their first true leaves, you can begin removing forks from the areas where plants are established, reusing them in a new section of the garden. The same bag of forks can protect multiple beds across an entire growing season, and then again the following year. It helps to understand why this works at the level of animal behavior, because once you see it clearly, the whole system makes more sense, and you will trust it more fully. Cats are highly selective about where they dig. They do not dig randomly. Before committing to a digging motion, a cat will test the surface with its paw. It is looking for resistance, texture, and predictability. A soft, even surface gets a green signal. An uneven surface with unexpected points of contact gets a pause, a second test, and usually a retreat. The cat does not decide the bed is dangerous. It simply decides the bed is not worth the effort when easier options exist nearby. This is the key insight. You are not trying to frighten the animal. You are making your bed the least convenient option available. Rodents operate on a similar principle. They are cautious animals by nature. They prefer to move along surfaces they have already mapped and trust. A seedbed covered in upright plastic forks is a surface they have no map for. The irregular tines break the smooth, tactile feedback they rely on when foraging. Most rodents will probe the edge of the bed once, encounter the forks, and redirect toward open ground elsewhere. Birds are perhaps the most immediately deterred. Ground-feeding birds need a stable landing surface. They will not land confidently on a bed where the visual pattern suggests instability or obstruction. Even before they touch down, the presence of the upright forks alters the visual signal the bed sends. A clear, open patch of soil is an invitation. A bed full of small, vertical objects is not. No chemicals, no noise, no harm to any animal. Just a physical system that works quietly with the instincts that are already there, redirecting behavior rather than punishing it. The immediate benefit is obvious. Your seedlings survive. The bed you prepared stays intact from the day you sow to the day you transplant. But the longer you use this system, the more you notice something quieter happening underneath that. You stop replanting the same bed 2 or 3 times in a season. That alone saves time, seeds, and the quiet frustration of repeated loss. A single packet of seeds that used to stretch across 2 or 3 failed attempts now goes further because the first sowing holds. Over a full growing season, that compounds. More seedlings established, more plants reaching maturity, more food coming out of the same patch of ground. The forks themselves last for years. Wash them at the end of the season, store them in a small container, and they are ready again in spring. The $2 you spend in the first year becomes the last $2 you ever spent on this particular problem. There is no subscription. There is no replacement product to buy. The system simply works season after season without asking anything more from you. For a family growing food in a backyard, that kind of reliability matters more than any single harvest. It means you are not dependent on a store to solve a problem that your garden creates every year. You have a proven method that lives in your shed, costs almost nothing, and gives you one less thing to worry about. That is a small form of independence. But in a backyard, small independence adds up to something real over time. You do not need to overhaul your entire garden to try this. Start with one bed, the one you are most protective of, the one where you plant first each season, or where you grow something your family actually eats. Prepare it the way you normally would. Press your seeds in, and then spend 10 minutes placing forks across the surface before you walk away. Then observe. Come back the next morning and look at the bed. Look at the soil around it. You will likely see paw prints stopped at the edge, or a single disturbed fork, where something tested the surface and then turned back. That moment of evidence is worth more than any explanation I can give you. You will see the system working with your own eyes, and you will understand it in a way that stays with you. From there, you can expand it to other beds as you grow more comfortable with the method, or keep it simple and protect just the beds that matter most. Either way, you are solving a real problem with something you already own, without chemicals, without cost, and without dependence on anything a store has to sell you. That is what a good garden system looks like.